Okay. As usual. Let's talk about Railroad Barons. Game I just finished playing. Alright. Well, I don't think I wrote anything down about it. Nope. Let me give a little bit of history as to how I felt when I picked it up. When I first saw it, I thought, oh, how cool. It's portrayed as a meta 18xx game where you control the holding companies that control the companies. That really excited me. Quickly looking at the game, two things immediately disappointed me. One is, it's a two-player game. My thought is, oh crap, you know, what can you do with XX in 2? I've played XX in 2. It's an interesting learning experience. It's certainly a great way to show somebody who doesn't quite understand how to take control of the game just what you can do if you manage to get a powerful hold on, you know, when the trains are coming out. But this is not the way to play the game, right? I can't imagine, although I have played XX in 2 a couple of times, I can't imagine doing it many times. Second one is, well, the rulebook, which doesn't convey very well. My feeling was, oh look, I just bought me a euro, and I think it is, and I think it very, very nicely links and shows XX is just a much bigger type of euro that predated the euros that are really, really popular and loved today. And things kind of triangulated somewhere between, you know, where the German family-style euros, I'm going to try not to knock everything down like Damfrost, met a real XX is where you get some of the more popular, moderately heavy euros, the medium-sized ones that everybody kind of says, oh, these are the great games, a couple hours, and this, you know, Damfrost is about a couple hours, but it's a little lighter, less clear, you know, I'm making this decision and it's really going to affect me and I have these choices. I feel it's a little lighter than that, more die roll-ish, more luck-based, whatever. XX is very much along the, here's what the euros really are, and now we're going to lighten them up so that people can actually play them who aren't really gamers at heart. And by gamers at heart, I mean, you know, those of us who were playing bigger things than XX and picked it up and said, ooh, this is not bad. This is really cool. There's a lot of cool decisions in here. Well, for me, the further down that line I go, the more iffy it becomes. And this is definitely further down that line. That said, though, I was actually somewhat pleasantly surprised. The rulebook, not so good. Not that the rules are bad, nor are they incomplete. Everything seems to actually be here, but it's so dense. This is almost, I mean, take away the track line, but this is almost as complex as most simple XX games. And if you can imagine putting that on 4 pages like this is, because the other 4 pages are the German translation, or the other way around, I'm not sure which, you can see what kind of difficulty it's going to be in presenting these rules in a way that's really, really easy to understand and usable. So they're very, very dense. Everything's in there, but it's not arranged in perhaps the easiest to understand manner. I think they could easily have added another page, spread things out a little bit more, not necessarily more text, just organize them a little better. I think all the rules are well stated, clearly, but their positioning makes them hard to find, hard to remember sometimes, because you don't have that visual memory of where the rules are. What about the other components? the board, the stock track. The money, you know, some people don't like paper money. The money's kind of pretty to me, but it doesn't suit this game. It looks like it's from some sort of medieval game, maybe with the exception of these guys with top hats. But we got like men in armor, elves, Romans, all kind of weird stuff in there. It looks like some kind of weird fantasy game. Wooden dinguses, pieces, whatever. You know, whatever. They're okay, and they don't harm anything in this, and I think they're better than chits would be because the way you move them around on the cards, etc. The cards are a little drab, and for an XX game, the bar isn't very high on the graphics of the cards usually. It's not bad. I find it very pleasing. But these guys, they just don't inspire me at all. I wish, even though it's completely unimportant to the game, the company was more prominent on these. The corporate certificates are a little difficult to see. Probably the biggest thing that affects the game as opposed... Oh, no, it's right here. I was going to say, this is what I want, and it is here. It's on the little player aid. The player aid's very helpful. It tells you everything you really need to know, damn near, at least about the operating round. On the stock round, it's the things it might be omitting which kind of worry me, but they're not there. The stock market only moves if dividends are paid, if dividends are withheld, or if the director sells shares. So, stating the things that you expect to find in an XX game. See, the different flavors of XX is kind of the problem, and this is not really entirely based on the 1830 flavor. The easiest clue to that is this thing. But even in the 1829 flavor, selling shares had an effect, even if the director doesn't do it. Payouts, I think 1829 was the one where if you pay out multiples of the value of your company, it goes up. No matter what, withholding drops your stock value. These things don't exist in this game. So there's kind of a, oh wait, this is an XX, why is this here? And then you, because it's not on the player aid, you have to say, and you have to basically read the entire rulebook with your magnifying glass and your fine eye for small print in order to determine, no, it really is just this. And that's what I'm telling you right now. If you're having trouble getting through this thing, because it's small but very hard to get through, just go buy this. It's got it all. And that's actually, if you have this, skim the rules, say, it's kind of XX-ish, and play by your XX expectations limited to this, you got it. If you're not an XX player, these rules might be a pain to get through. You might really be stumbling, but in the end, your little player aid card might be enough. So, the actual stock certificate, or corporate certificates, not all that distinguishable either. But, okay. I mean, they're serviceable. What I found kind of difficult was not having a board, only having the cards, and not having kind of mats to hold all the holdings of a corporation. It didn't really cause problems for me, but I felt like it would be easier with a mat. But that's not in it. They got by a little cheaper by not doing that, and that's fine. Why am I pleasantly surprised? Because it actually does kind of feel like XX. I didn't think it was going to. I didn't see how a two-player game, and more specifically, something that when I looked at it looked a little too much like a lighter Euro, would really match, especially when I saw, oh geez, there's only 4 pages of rules. How do you do that? Well, I think it does. I think it does a good job on it, and you can see through the play video that at least some of the spirit of it, and try to compare that to your own XX games. It still has a lack of multiplayer. It still, you know, isn't the full experience. You don't have the track laying. You don't have the same stock market manipulation games going on. But those would kind of, not the track laying so much, but the stock market manipulation would kind of ruin a two-player game, I think. So, I think some decisions were made here that were interesting. The way the trains work, or the companies which act just like trains, I like that. I like, and I'm almost thinking maybe there's an XX game which does this, and somebody can tell me about it. But the double-sided ones, I know 2038 gives you options on trains, or spaceships or whatever. But they're not like this. They're not, hey, do you want the current one at the current one's fair price, or do you want something that makes money like the current one but lasts as long as the next one at the next one's price? It's an interesting conundrum, really. It allows you a lot more flexibility in terms of not what you can make. You don't get a big profit off buying that earlier version of the next train, but you get more longevity, and that's kind of an interesting option, and I think perhaps usually worth it, especially if you're getting a permanent company for it, or train, or whatever you want to call it. The little investor cards, they're cute, and I really like that they have no fixed value. And this is the one thing in the game, though, that prevents it from being a multiplayer game. These guys. If it weren't for these guys, or if somebody can figure out a way to deal with these guys in a multiplayer environment, and I guess you could say, well, one player picks it, and other players get either the cash, well, I don't know how you determine it, but essentially as long as everybody gets the cash who doesn't get the dude, it works out kind of fair, but it might inject too much cash into the game. The game kind of flows nicely the way it is, but I don't know if injecting a lot of cash would necessarily be bad. So I think it could be modified fairly easily to hold multiple players. I don't know how good or bad it would be. It might be worth a shot. It would take a little bit of thinking and work, though, to do it. It's not something that right away says, oh yeah, I can do it that way. Completely luckless game. That's always a plus for me on one of these kind of things. I mean, that's what's great about XX, right? There's no luck, except for 53. There may be others too. They're a nice little asset. I like the way you decide. I like the tokens on the trains, which is kind of like, I guess, some kind of worker placement type thing or something. I don't know your Euro terms, but you have a nice amount of control over what you want to do with those tokens, and if you have them all on your company, you have a lot more flexibility, but you're making less money, so you want to start diverting them into adding to your funds, as long as you can do everything you want to do in the future. And you have to know what you want to do in the future before you can really make that decision. There were definitely times when I was saying to myself, shit, I wish I had another token available over on Despicable, because that would have helped. I don't know what to give this as a rating. I don't know how much you can replay it. That's a question to me, because there is no book. The fact that the players determine how valuable these are is really cool, but there may come a settling as to what the games are just going to turn out as. It was kind of nice that it came out close in my game. That made me happier, but I fear that it's always going to be a close game, and it's going to be a matter of just slightly perfecting your strategy eventually. That after maybe a dozen plays or something, you've played this thing out. I'm not sure. I'm not the kind of person who's going to play it enough times to be able to ever come to that point. It's going to be something I pull out, maybe once a year, as a nice little game. I think it'll take about, I'd guess about an hour and a half, 2 hours. That's ballpark guess. I don't know for sure. It's pretty fast moving once it gets going, so it might be less than that. All right.